Who says the cops are off limits?
But they're not. Shouldn't they be? That's what I'm saying.
I ain't said the cops are off limits. Cops get crazy, then we get stabbed. I told you that last time we talked.
Welcome to Boys in the Hood TV. Today we are talking about the most ruthless, dangerous, and powerful gang in all of California, the Mexican Mafia. Although primarily a prison gang that reaches deep into the streets of California, and with a single call, a life can be taken. In 1972, a man by the name of Anthony Dito Marino, along with another man named Raymond Shawrock, both joined the Mexican Mafia. One of LIMA's strict policy rules is blood in, blood out, meaning the only way out is by death. But in 1983, Anthony Marino violated that rule. Marino, for nearly a decade, was able to avoid the Mexican Mafia. While out of prison, Marino lived in the El Monte apartments, located at 3843 Maxon Road. But 2 apartments below lived Raymond Shawrock, the same man who joined the Mafia with him in the 1970s. Raymond was now a shot caller and had primary control over the San Gabriel Valley area. The witness tried to warn Marino of Shawrock, but Marino didn't consider Shawrock a threat because their history of friendship and knowing each other all those years. Instead, Marino ignored those warnings and was collecting taxes without LIMA permission. According to court documents, on January 4th, 1995, law enforcement officers secretly videotaped Shawrock set up a meeting with 17 other Mexican Mafia members. In the audio, Shawrock could be heard saying, "I don't know if you ever heard of this brother named like Dito. He dropped out a long time ago. Motherfucker was living right downstairs in an apartment and never came up." Shawrock then stated after he moved out of the apartments, Marino started showing his face. Shawrock made it clear that there were kids in the apartment and he only wanted Dito dead, not the kids. On April 2nd, 1995, another meeting took place where it was put up for vote if a man by the name of Luis Pelon Maciel would be granted membership.
Just saying, I got to his room, brother, and just sheriff. So I'm raising, he's on his way down here right now because I want everybody to meet him face to face.
Who is this guy?
His name's Pelon. From Montevideo. So I'm just asking for a vote to make him a carnal. And then if we want to talk about closing the books, we can do that.
Pelon eventually was granted membership and would be given the mission of dealing with Anthony Marino. According to authorities, Luis Maciel hired gang members from a San Gabriel Valley street gang, Richard Valdez, Jimmy Palmer, Anthony Scar Torres, Danny Tricky Logan, and Jose Pepe Ortiz. On April 22nd, 1995, Maciel personally scouted the scene. Knowing that Anthony Marino was a heroin addict, Maciel took a gift of heroin to him as a pretext for the visit and to ensure that Marino would be under the influence of the depressant at the time of the attack. Later that day, Maciel met with Palmer and gave him some heroin to help the Sangre gang members gain entry to Marino's apartment. Later that night, the gang members met at Torres' house to prepare for the hit. They then proceeded to Marino's apartment driving 2 separate vehicles, a Thunderbird and a Nissan Maxima. Valdez and Palmer went inside, while Torres stood guard outside with a shotgun, and Logan remained at the wheel of the car. Ortiz acted as a lookout further down the street. As Palmer showed Gustavo Aguirre the heroin, Valdez shot Aguirre in the head. Anthony Marino tried to flee and Valdez shot him also. Palmer then shot Maria Marino as she pleaded for her life and then shot her 2 children, 5-year-old Laura Marino and 6-month-old Ambrose Padillo. Maria Moreno's 6-year-old son Paul hid under debris out of sight. After the killing, the men immediately retreated back to their cars and fled the scene. The only survivor, 6-year-old Paul, ran next door to the neighbors in a bloody soaked shirt, telling the neighbors his mother had been shot. Police and paramedics eventually arrived to discover the horrific scene. Officers found Gustavo Tito Aguirre, 36, lying in a pool of his own blood just outside the door of the apartment, killed by a single gunshot to the head. The gun had been pressed to his head just near his right ear, then exited out the left side of his skull. Anthony Moreno, 42, he was found lying between a bed and wall, killed by a single gunshot to the top of the head. He had also sustained a non-fatal gunshot wound through his left shoulder. Maria Moreno, 38, was found in a pool of blood. She was killed by a single gunshot, fired from a few inches away, which became lodged in her brain. Beside Maria was her 5-year-old daughter, Laura Moreno, who weighed only 47 pounds. Laura was killed by a single gunshot that entered her back, punctured her lung, and exited through her chest. She was believed to be either seated, lying down, or slightly hunched over when her life was taken. The youngest victim, 17-pound, 6-month-old Ambrose Padilla, was found lying beside his mother and sister in a pool of blood. He was murdered by a single gunshot wound through his right eye, which traveled through his mouth, the base of his brain, to his spinal cord, and finally out the back of his neck. There was a hole in the pillow underneath him, making it likely he was lying on his back when shot. Police investigation linked the Sangre gang members to Maciel through telephone and pager records. In addition, bullets and shell casings found at the crime scene were scientifically matched to a bullet and shell casings found at Valdez's residence. Coordination among the gang members following Palma's arrest further cemented their link. A man named Victor Jimenez, a Sangre gang member, testified against Palma and other members in regards to Torres borrowing his Jeep the night of the murders. Another witness from Flores Street gang, his gang moniker was Clown, who testified after he heard about the kids and mother being killed. Days before the murder, Luis Maciel told him to stay away from the victim, Gustavo Aguirre, because Aguirre was no good because he had been robbing dealers who paid taxes to the Mexican Mafia. More witnesses came forward, including suspect Torres' sister. She stated that Torres said that only one person was supposed to be killed and that Valdez and Palma did the shooting. And because Palma killed 2 kids, he would be taken care of. Another witness was the brother of Anthony Moreno, ex-Flores gang member, and a man who served time and was green-lighted by the Mexican Mafia while in prison in the 80s. He spent the remainder of his sentence in PC before being released in 1995. He testified that the night of the murders, Luis Maciel came by with heroin to give to Anthony at no price. He said he was suspicious of it. By fall of 1995, everyone involved was indicted on the murder charges. On October 3, 1995, Richard Valdez was arrested in Utah by Lake County sheriffs. Luis Maciel was arrested in December of 1995, and during his interview, he denied knowing anything about the murders or any of the shooters, but admitted to being a Flores gang member and to knowing Raymond Shyrock, who was a good friend of his. He denied being a Mexican Mafia member. He also stated the night of the murders he was at his son's christening. Eventually, all parties involved were found guilty of the murders. Richard Valdez was sentenced to death June 1997 and is currently on death row at San Quentin. Co-defendant Jimmy Palma of Arcadia was also sentenced to death in June 1997, but while in San Quentin, Palma was stabbed and killed. It's believed it was due to him killing the children, which violated the Mexican Mafia's strict conduct. Ortiz, Torres, and Logan all received life in prison. 28-year-old Luis Maciel was the last of 6 defendants to be tried and convicted and sentenced to death. Raymond Shyrock was sentenced for racketeering and conspiracy charges in 1997 and is currently serving a life sentence.